you walk, it drives me nuts. You walk into a restaurant or any food establishment, and there's a horde of people just standing there, drivers, with their phones, waiting for these orders. They don't have to talk to anybody. They don't have to make that connection. And we get so many moments in Avon. A couple of weeks ago, we have this husband and wife that come in sometimes with their kids, and they come in regularly. And they walked in, and his mom actually was sitting at one of the tables. They didn't know that.
Oh, his mom just happened to come in.
Yeah, she's a regular as well. And then, oh, hey, how are you? And then they joined tables, and it was like this moment that they didn't plan, but it just happened. And I think those are the types of connections that we're missing. And you don't get that when you just place a mobile order and you walk in and you walk out.
All right, everybody. Rich Rockland here on I'll Call My Guy. I'm here with Kevin Masse, the baker extraordinaire. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We were both, Julie and I were talking before. We're just so excited to have you here because, one, we love what you do, like all your stuff, but you're just such a, you have a good energy about you.
Thank you.
You're always like, it's just like, oh, this is such like the happy baker.
Thank you.
That's what we call you. So I hope you don't mind that.
No,
the happy
not
baker.
At all. Not at all.
You seem to be like a very happy guy. Is that true?
So. I think
or is that masking? Is this like a Robin Williams thing?
No,
where you're
not at all.
No.
I think I am overall generally happy. I think there's, in any business, there's the side that we show,
right,
that we present and we project, and then there's the private side. So the side that I present is one that's very happy, because when it comes to our business, Small State Provisions, it is a space of happiness and a space that I want people to feel welcomed, and I love what I get to do. So it's a positive place for me to be.
Right. But I think though, even though that may be your sort of your outward, it's part of your marketing and stuff. I still think though that genuinely, you can't fake that too much. I mean, you have to like what you do.
I do. And I shouldn't say it's all just marketing and gimmick, but I think genuinely I love being around people.
Yeah.
I'm an extrovert.
Yeah.
And so, for me, it's energizing to be on our social media, to be with our customers, to be with the community, and to build the community that we're trying to build is something that I'm passionate about. And I think it comes through genuinely.
What is baking? Let's hop into baking a little bit, and then we'll get to you. I want to know about how you came to be. Is baking science?
Yes.
It's science.
Yes.
So it's not art.
It's a little bit of both.
What percentage do you think?
99% science.
Wow.
1% art.
Wow.
The art comes in, especially with what we do with bread. The art is scoring bread. How do we score it to get it to look the way we want it to look? There's, frosting cakes. You want to do that artfully so that it looks good. You want to make sure your products look good. But at the end of the day, we are following formulas, and we're doing things by weight. And it's a very scientific
It's formulaic.
approach. Exactly.
Right. So
exactly.
you can't be like, the old Italian grandmother, like, I don't measure anything. I just put it in. You can't do that. There's no tolerance for that in baking.
There's no tolerance. It's got to be down to the gram of how much weight you're putting in of everything, your liquids, your dries, your leavening agents, if you're using them. But when I cook at home, it is much more like, oh, I'm going to taste this and see how it tastes. And it might need a little acid. It might need a little salt.
Right. So you do cook as well as bake?
I do.
You do?
I do.
And Masse, what kind of name is that?
So French-Canadian.
French-Canadian.
Yes.
Or where did you grow up?
So I grew up in Syracuse, New York.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I have my friend Jen, who was on last week, my best friend, she's platonic. She's from Chenango.
Oh, cool.
You know that?
Yeah, I do. So my dad lives in Cortland, New York, which is just south of Syracuse. And I was born in a small town, which actually has some connection here to Hartford, in Elmira.
Oh, Elmira.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so my friend Ken, who's a lawyer in town, is from Elmira. And I know that because we always talk about Mark Twain had a place there. Yeah. And then he always talks about the fire hydrant company is in Elmira, New York.
Yeah.
And that's like a big deal in the town. It's still there.
And we have some of the fire hydrants.
Yeah. It says Elmira, New York. Yeah. And there was a big fight as to whether Hartford or Elmira was the home of Mark Twain. Because there's a place there.
His wife was from
Elmira. There, but he spent time there and he wrote some things there.
He's buried there.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, one of our very good customers, I don't know if you know Tori Shavy. She's a judge here in Connecticut now.
Tori Shavy, no.
Her family, she grew up in Elmira. I met her through the bakery. Her husband, Mark, now actually does some work with us. She grew up in Elmira, and it turns out that the house that she lived in was directly next to the house that my father lived in.
Oh, my gosh.
But they were like 10 years apart. My dad's family had moved to New Mexico. And so I hope,
So
Tori, I hope it's okay that I mentioned that.
No, that's yeah, it's probably public knowledge.
Yeah.
And so you grew up, you were born there?
I was born in Elmira and then moved to Syracuse when I was like 4 or 5.
And were your parents an intact family?
Nope, my parents were divorced when I was very young.
Okay.
So I grew up in a divorced family. Both of my parents remarried.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like you saw both parents.
I did.
Yeah. And any siblings?
I do. I have 3 siblings.
3?
2, yeah, I've got 2. There's 3 of us.
Okay.
Younger brother who is now outside of Syracuse. He's a marijuana grower.
Oh, cool.
And then my older sister is back in Syracuse with her family.
Oh, cool. So he's in the service industry as well, right? Making people happy.
Yeah, he's a pioneer in that industry.
Is he really?
Yes, he started in Maine probably 12 years ago or so, and was one of the people that really helped kind of get that industry off the ground.
So now he has a store, or is he just
he's what we would call a grower. So he grows
not a shower, right?
Exactly. And he's also 6'5".
Yeah.
So he grows marijuana and he distributes it to different manufacturers.
Wow, cool. And you guys are close?
We've gotten closer.
Oh, that's good.
Over the years.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's cool because you guys are both like, serving the public, arguably to help a lot of we turn to both industries for stress relief.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pastries and wow, that's interesting. So then you grow up there. So at some point do you go to college?
Yes.
Where do you go?
Yes, I went to University of Buffalo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So are you at Duffy's or Anchor Bar?
I've liked Duffy's. That was
Duffy's. Okay.
Duff's was like the place to go. It was closer to campus too.
Okay.
Anchor Bar was downtown, but Duff's was
Duff's is your spot. How do you take your wings?
I don't even remember at this point.
Like down, like are you a wing guy still?
Yeah, we actually just went to J. Tim's.
Oh, J. Tim's. Do you like the dirt wings?
Yeah. Those are good.
So are you like are you a blue cheese guy?
Yes.
Yeah, you got to be blue cheese, 100%. Right? Yeah. I was going to chastise you if you're ranch.
No,
ranch is nasty.
Ranch is fine for pizza. We actually make ranch at the bakery when we do our pizza night.
Okay.
But blue cheese is
right?
Where my heart is at.
And how about the wings? Do you like them saucy or crispy? Or?
I like them saucy.
I'm a saucy, crispy guy.
Yeah. They can't be
I like J. Tim's, but we go a lot to Sliders.
Okay. I haven't been
right down the street, like almost diagonally. You can walk from there. And I just like their sauce a little better.
Yeah.
But I like them traditional. I'm a Buffalo hot. Like Duffy's.
Yeah.
So you go there. Now, at some point, obviously you're married, you're a gay man.
Yes.
Do you when do you come out?
Yeah, I came out when I was in high school.
High school?
Yeah, later in high school.
And how old are you?
I'm 40.
You're 40. Oh my God, I got some. All right, all right. So I'm 49. So you're I'm 48 actually. So you come out in high school, like New York is sort of open to those things then?
Yeah, it was definitely more liberal
in
New York. I grew up in a liberal family.
What'd your folks do?
So my mom was she's in healthcare. So she was the chief medical officer, the chief operating officer for a big practice in Syracuse.
Okay.
And now she runs an ear, nose, and throat clinic.
Is she a physician?
She's not. She's a nurse.
But she's a nurse, but she knows that business.
Yeah, so she's been in healthcare admin for many, many years. And my dad was an entrepreneur, so he owned his own business and he specialized in inventory management solutions. But back in the day when computers were first going onto cash counters at stores and
POS, right?
POS, right? Point of sale systems.
So he was like dealing. He got in on that stuff.
Yeah. So he was doing that all through the 90s, and he had a lot of clients out in Boston. So Black Dog and Martha's Vineyard was one of his clients. A lot of his business was out on the island, and then he started focusing on wineries and the winery gift shops. And then he retired. He sold his business right before the iPads took over. He sold his business, and now he works in the wine business in the Finger Lakes. So he's actually
that's a huge wine business up there, right?
Yeah, so he's managing a winery. I think he's with Glenora right now.
Oh, cool. So you saw but as a child, you were exposed to that entrepreneurial sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
And the ups and downs with that, right? I mean, that's a lot of, as you know, like a business. It's I run my own business too. There's so many amazing parts about it, but there's also like days where you're just like, oh my God, how am I going to make this work? How am I going to cut that check? How am I going to figure that out? So I'm sure you got an early, and your brother too, obviously went into that field.
Yeah.
Seeing like, I guess the freedom that it could give your father, but also all the stress.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, I mean, he had 20 employees at one point, and he had a big operation, and it was always kind of a family business. So my stepmom's mother worked for my dad and was like the receptionist. So when I would call, I would get her. At one point in high school, he gave me a credit card. I think he wanted to help out. And then and he was like, you just have to call and ask when you want to use it. And then I would call his secretary and ask her if I could use it.
I need to buy this.
Hey, can you hide he found out sooner or later. But yeah, it was always kind of teaching me responsibility.
Oh, sure.
That was what the...
and so when you come out, was it like, how you hear all these awful stories of poor kids that are so scared for their parents? Was there something like you told your parents, they're like, fantastic, we knew?
So my dad definitely was more like, dinner never really missed a beat. I think my mom was super open to it, but it was a different time.
Right.
I think parents were much more concerned about the perception or the challenges that we were going to face.
Right.
It was the
oh my God, this is going to be an awful life for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And now I think it's so accepted. I was actually just talking to a friend this morning, and now as a gay man, it's almost like we're not we're not I don't feel like we're a marginalized community anymore. I mean, I think there's still lots of us within the community and within the country that are heavily
but certainly here, it's just another thing.
In West Hartford, it never feels
like we don't even even in our practice, it's like, it's just divorce. It's and the gay folks that come in it's the same problems, same issues. It's there's no, which is what the community and all the allies have said for years. Like, it's no difference here, right? It's like, and it's interesting because we have a lot of gay families that are now blended. Sometimes they'll go off, and then the kids have we have a lesbian couple where they split apart, and one remarried another woman, the other one remarried a man, and they call the other guy dad, and the kids are loved, and they take care of each other, and it works out great because it's if everybody gets along, the kid will be fine. And it's sort of interesting to see. Like, I'm always curious about the studies with that kind of stuff that'll come to bear in the future. Like, what's it like growing up with two dads or two moms, and kind of what's the kid going to be like? But, it's the same stuff. I mean, it's everyone.
I think the kids end up being completely well-adjusted.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And they're like, there's actually I'll send it to you on Facebook. There's an Instagram. There's a great kid who's raised by two dads. And he's so sassy, and the dads are very much involved in Pride, and he just harasses the dads on there on Instagram.
I think I've seen this
the little kid, and the dad's sort of a tall, and he calls them.
I think they're in Buffalo.
Actually. That's who they are. That's right. And he says, "Hey sis," he's like, "Who are you sissing?" It's the funniest thing. I follow it all the time. I actually sent them some books. Because they get books for Pride. That's a really good account. But that kid is like so well. Like, I'd love to hang with that kid. Like, I'm like, that's a fun kid.
Yeah, I think it's open. We're raising a next generation of
open-minded kids. So you come out, and you didn't miss a beat. You weren't scared.
No. I mean, it was the tail end of high school, so I was getting ready to go to college. I had a boyfriend at the time that lived in Rochester, so that was in between Syracuse and Buffalo. I was actually planning on going to University of Albany because that's where my sister went. And I liked it there. We have family in that area. And then I was dating this guy, and I went to Buffalo so I could be closer to that relationship. It did not work out, but I went to Buffalo without ever seeing it. So I did not do a campus tour.
You just showed up.
With the state system, with SUNY, you could just check the boxes that you wanted your application to go to. So it went to SUNY Albany, and it went to Buffalo. I think I had to write an essay for Buffalo.
Right.
And then I went and I showed up for orientation, and that was the first time I saw the campus. And it was, I think, one of those sliding door moments. Like, I think of all the different things that would have happened in my life if I had not gone to Buffalo. But Buffalo is just an incredible city.
Oh, I've never been, but I hear the best stuff about it.
Yeah, and I haven't been back since probably 2011.
Oh, wow.
For a friend's wedding. But even since then, it's drastically changed.
I hear such good things. The winters are brutal, obviously.
But the summers are great, and you're right on the water. And it was just one of those places where I really came of age. And if I had not had a job lined up in New York City, I probably would have considered staying there.
So you're 18, you do 4 years.
Yep.
Bachelor's?
Yeah, I did actually 2 degrees.
Okay.
So I have a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and a Bachelor of Science in Business.
Wow.
So
you do that, and are you cooking it all in high school? Or baking?
I loved to cook. I loved to bake. When I was in high school, I think the first time I ever cooked dinner for my family, I was probably 13.
Wow.
I can remember I made this dish called Chicken Imperial, and it was from, I want to say it was a Cornell cookbook, those old cookbooks that have the binding on
the joy
them.
of cooking,
yes,
one of the,
yes. And I remember making that, and I always cooked and baked with my grandmother.
Oh,
And
so grandma.
both of my parents are great cooks, and I wanted to go to culinary school right out of high school. I really wanted to go into that field. This was also the time when Food Network was
Coming about.
really at its peak. I used to watch all of the shows with my grandmother, and it was this very kind of glamorous looking thing, and I want to go into this. And my parents said, we're helping with college. We really want you to be passionate about something, but we think it will be best to get a degree in business first, do a traditional 4-year college, and then down the road, if you want to go into that industry of food and service, you can do that. And it actually, at the time, I remember being a little frustrated because I didn't have the long-term view, and it all kind of worked out. And now I'm in the industry I want. Right. I have an incredible background in marketing and all of the stuff that I did prior to shifting into this, which has really helped me kind of inform the way that I run the business.
Interesting. So you're cooking at 13, and then baking. When does the baking start?
I started baking when I was young too. My grandmother was Italian, and she always had pizza on the counter. When you would go to her house, there would just be a pizza on
just
the
sitting
counter.
there, and you just pick at it.
Yeah, I'd rip a piece off. So I was always making pizzas with her. She loved making bread. And so baking was one of those things that I liked the science of it. I liked that you could follow something very routine. You had to keep very organized. Right. And when you got done, you had something to show for it.
Wow. But even with the science, let's just cut to that for 1 second. As I'm so interested in this, like, if I followed the exact same recipe you followed, my shit's not going to be as good as yours. So where does that, like, are you just better at what distinguishes a better product? Because you go to some place and you're like, this bread is like mid, right?
Yeah,
it's like, eh.
Yeah.
But then I go to your place and I'm like, oh my God, this is the best baguette I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
Like if you're following something that's formulaic, it has to be more than 1%. There has to be some.
Yeah, there's a passion that you have to put into it. There's ingredients,
quality of the ingredients.
Quality of it. We're almost entirely organic. And
does that make a difference?
It does, 100%.
100%. And you say that as somebody whose livelihood depends on it.
Yeah.
And it costs more.
It does. We pay approximately 3.5, 4 times more for a bag of flour that's organic versus conventional.
And you get a better result.
We get a better result. I think you get a better flavor. Our bread is 100% sourdough. So it's, you're getting a lot of that fermentation that happens that leavens the bread. And that also gives you more flavor. And I think too, it's just technique. It's how it's how you think about the recipes that you're working with as well too.
So so the flour itself, is it Italian flour you like? Or?
So we use a couple of different millers. We use King Arthur.
Oh yeah, that's a big outfit.
It's a big outfit, but we use their organic brand that they have, or their organic line, which is actually grown usually in Oklahoma, I think, is where their mills or where their wheat fields are, and then it's milled in South Carolina. And then we use a brand out of Quebec called Milanese, which is a family-run flour mill. And they're organic.
Have you gotten into any of this stuff? People say like the Italians, you go to Italy and you can eat like much. You don't put on any weight because there's not the glyphosate. What is that stuff?
I'm not super familiar with that, but I do know that we get a lot of people that because our bread is 100% sourdough, and because it goes through the long fermentation process, it's what you would call gluten neutral. So it's going to digest easier. Lots of people come back and they say, in Europe, I was able to eat all the bread and I never had any of the problems. And most of those people can come to our bakery and also eat our bread because of that fermentation. And in Europe, a lot of them are already using organic grains. They're much more forward thinking on organic in Europe.
On all things. I mean, they ban things that we allow here. 100%. What about so if the so you're using this product that's 3 to 4 times more expensive.
Yeah.
You have a starter, obviously, right?
We do.
And what's her name? Do you have a name?
Mother T.
Mother T.
Yeah.
And Mother T. And how old's Mother T?
So it really depends. I think it's about 20 years old.
Wow.
So my friend Terry Walters, who's a cookbook author in Avon, she's who I really started making sourdough bread with first. Connected with her when we first moved here about 8 years ago through one of my husband's colleagues at Trinity, her husband worked with Terry's husband, and then Terry and I got together for coffee through that. And so that's how I really started to learn sourdough, was Terry teaches sourdough classes, and she's still the person when people say, do you teach classes? I say, I don't, but go see Terry. She's really the person you want to see. So she gave me some starter when we did our class probably in 2017.
Wow.
Was the first, 2018.
And you just keep growing it.
Yeah. You basically just feed it, and then it lives in the fridge, and then every couple of days, we take out what we need, and then you feed it again, and you get,
There's a famous place in San Francisco that does the sourdough, and they have, isn't their starter like 150 years old or something?
Probably.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they can get really, really old. It's not the actual starter itself; it's the bacteria. Right. Because by the time you keep feeding it, you're always kind of replenishing.
It's new, but it's
the actual organism that's alive that's very, very old. So
wow. All right, let's go back to then you come after Buffalo, you do 4-year degree?
Yeah.
I mean, the 2 degrees you get in 4 years?
I did them in 4 years.
And then you said you get to New York City.
Yeah, so right at 2 weeks after
22,
graduation,
23?
I moved down to Manhattan.
And what do you do there?
I was in advertising.
Okay.
I worked in brand strategy for a media agency. So we were the folks that sat between the creative and the consumer. So Geico was one of our long-term clients. I worked for an organization called Horizon Media.
You did the gecko?
We did not create the gecko, but we figured out how to take the gecko to the right audience.
Oh, I see.
Right. So we were the people that were looking at audience segmentation and figuring out, this was obviously in the early 2000s when I started this. Phones and tablets and all of that were just coming out. They hadn't fragmented
Instagram,
the market.
nothing like that
Nothing.
around.
It was all just TV, radio, print,
traditional ad media,
Yeah, so we were the ones that figured out, okay, so if Geico is your client, and they need to reach this consumer, where does this consumer consume media? And then we would buy the media time, whether that's TV or print or radio, and figure out their media mix so that they're reaching the right audience. And I was in a subset of that called direct response, which was at the time 1-800 phone numbers. So we would slate 1-800 numbers onto commercials. And then every week we were able to monitor the number of calls coming in. And then we would do results reports every week to our clients, and then our buyers would optimize. They would cut channels or add channels
based on that
feedback on how many calls we were getting.
So you're 22, 23 years old, New York City now. Yeah. So you're sort of small rural kid. Obviously, Buffalo's a little bit bigger, but not so big. And now you're in the city. Yeah. You're getting exposed to even better food, presumably, or more diverse food. Do you meet your husband then, or?
So I was in New York from starting in 2006, and Michael and I met in 2009.
Oh, okay.
So I was there for about 3 years.
You met him in New York?
I did. I met him through a running group that I was part of, the Front Runners, which was a gay and lesbian running club. As a joiner, when I moved to New York, I had some friends, but I knew I needed to make more. And so I found this running group. I don't even remember how I found them. I must have looked them up online. Facebook was around, so I think they probably had a Facebook page. And then I went to they used to do these monthly happy hours. So I went to one of the happy hours first. As a 22-year-old, I needed to make sure this group could sufficiently party. And then I joined them for a fun run the next morning. They always did these Saturday fun runs in Central Park. And I met some of my closest friends, which I'm still friends with to this day through that group. And then in 2009, Michael and I met. We shared some mutual friends, and then they kind of organized some dinner parties. And then we saw each other more frequently.
And was he teaching then, or was he in grad school?
No, he was just getting ready to start his PhD.
Oh, right.
So he had been spending the previous 6 years, he lived in Tokyo.
Oh, wow. Did he speak Japanese?
He did at the time, yeah.
Wow, he lost it?
If he went back, I'm sure it would come back.
That's a tough language.
It is, yeah. He moved there right after college. He's from Oklahoma.
Oh, a gay kid from Oklahoma speaks Japanese? Exactly. Oh, my God, I got to have him on here. Yeah. What a random thing.
Yeah, so we met through the running group. And we moved in together after 6 months.
Are there any gay people in Oklahoma? Is that the only one? They're there, of course they're there. But I'm saying, that's like the most inhospitable place.
Yeah, it's one of them.
Except for Tulsa, I heard is pretty cool.
Tulsa's a great city. I think Tulsa's kind of like Buffalo, and it's
like the city you could always find but he's making things better.
He's from a small town, Ponca City, which is about 30,000 people. And it's about an hour and a half from Tulsa. It's an
Oh,
hour and a half from Oklahoma City, and it's an hour and a half from Wichita. So it's
yeah.
closer to the Kansas
Oh
border.
boy.
But yeah, I mean, he's got a wonderful family. We were actually just in Ireland with his mother and his sister. We took his mom there for her 70th
Oh,
birthday.
did she love it?
She loved it.
She's Irish?
Yeah, yeah, part Irish.
Oh, cool.
So she had never been, so she wanted to see where.
How was the food there?
Amazing.
I heard it's really good, right?
Really
Were you in
great
Dublin?
food. We were in Dublin, and then we went to Galway, and we
Yeah.
spent some time in the Burren, and then we went down to Cork. We absolutely loved.
I heard Cork is great.
Cork was phenomenal. I right before the pandemic, I did a big tour with Tourism Ireland. I did a 10-day trip to Ireland with William Sonoma, Tourism Ireland, and the baking magazine that I used to work with. And we got to see a lot of the country, but we only spent an afternoon in Cork. And I remember it just kind of being, I would say, a little bit more working class than Dublin,
Right.
but it had just the soul of Cork is still run by small businesses.
Oh.
You don't have
Right.
large,
Starbucks.
exactly.
Yeah,
You don't have a lot of the big, huge. I'm sure they're there. Maybe we didn't see them, but it felt much more like, okay, this is still a city that is prided on all of the small businesses that run it.
So now you spent a few days there?
Yeah, we spent a couple days.
It was
in
as
Cork.
good as you thought it would
Yeah, it was wonderful.
be? And the food, you're eating Irish food or you eating?
We had a mix. So we had really good Italian
food, yeah.
actually, which was great. We stayed at this really beautiful hotel in the Burren, Gregan's, and they had a wonderful restaurant there, and we had a dinner that was like a pre-feed tasting menu. I think that was fun. That was a little bit out of the comfort zone for Michael's mom and sister. They had never had things like carpaccio.
Oh boy.
Or
Did they eat it all?
Yeah.
Yeah?
His sister almost didn't eat the carpaccio, but yeah, it was wonderful. It was just, and I love the Irish culture.
Oh, they're
I'm
very
part
nice
Irish,
people, yeah.
and so I always feel like I'm going home.
Oh, that's
when I
so
go
awesome.
there.
So, all right. So you meet Michael, and then do you bake it all in New York? Do you make the transition from ad to bake?
No,
ad
I
agency
continue to
baking?
be in baking, or I continue to be in advertising. I did take one when I first moved to New York. I was an assistant at the ad agency, and then I really wanted to go into food, and I really wanted to go into hospitality, and so I had actually been with the ad agency for a year, and then I got offered a promotion, and I quit. And I went and worked for this catering company called Great Performances, which is still around and one of the biggest catering companies in New York.
And doing what for them?
So I was a catering services manager, and I had no idea what that entailed when I took the job.
Wow, so you quit. You were probably making a good living.
Yeah, I was making an okay living.
Right, but I mean, but it's a steady living.
Yeah,
and
yeah. And then this was another salaried position, and I thought, this is great. I will go into this job. And I quickly realized this is not my forte, because my job at that company was to work and staff parties. So you've got, these clients that are maybe having a 300-person wedding, say, and as the catering services manager, I was responsible for taking, the party planner would put together a plan, and they would say, we need 30 waiters, we need 2 captains, we need this many cooks, and we need, whatever else. And you're dealing with all temp workers. They were all artists, basically.
Right, look at them, supplement their income.
They would call every week, and they would say, my name is so-and-so, and my availability is X, Y, and Z, and have to write that down and create a file. And then you had to know who was good at what. Right.
Oh,
so if you had a party to staff and some of the party planners liked certain staff,
you're like, oh yeah, call this
others.
guy.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
Yeah, you could just.
But I'm not. That is not my forte. That type of working with constrained resources and all of that. It was one job that I actually got fired from.
Wow.
Yeah, I got fired. I went on unemployment for a couple months, and then I dove back into advertising and kind of said, "Wow, that was an experience. I'm glad I had that."
And then when do you? So then you're in advertising for a few more years?
Yeah, so I was in advertising until, just even up until taking the business full time for myself, because the small state provision started out of my home kitchen. I was one of the first cottage bakery licenses here in West Hartford.
Oh,
When
I see.
that
But let's
first,
get. I want to get from how you get from New York to here,
yeah.
and then
So
and where you're getting baking experience in New York.
yeah, so I didn't. I just at home. I was
None.
just doing it all at
Were
home.
you
Yeah.
selling anything to people, or were
No.
you making gifts for people?
I would make things
Make
to
a cake
take
for the
into the
office. Yeah,
office.
yeah,
If
yeah.
we had people over for dinner, I would
You
make a
make it.
dessert.
And did people say to you like, "Oh my God, your stuff is really good"?
Yeah, yeah. I think
You get feedback from
yeah,
that,
we
yeah.
always got. I don't know if anybody's going to say this is shitty,
No, no,
but
but you know, you won't, or people won't say anything, but they're
right.
telling you like, did somebody say to you like, you should really like do something about this?
Yeah, and I think Michael was always one of my biggest
Oh, that's
supporters, and he
awesome.
said you should do something. And that was when we moved here back in 2016. I moved into more of a part-time role, still in media, but working for a food media company. So
Oh,
that was when I kind of started to shift more into the food side of advertising and really try to align myself in the food space rather than
oh. So
just
what
the
brought you to Connecticut? Was it Michael?
yeah, so Michael is a professor at Trinity
Trinity, that's right.
College,
Okay.
and he took a faculty position there in
Ah,
2016.
so you
So
guys
that
moved.
took us here in June of 2016. So we're coming up on 8 years now
I see. So you
in
make
this
your way
area.
here because of your husband. When
Yeah,
were you married?
we got married in 2013.
2013. Okay,
Yeah.
so 3 years later, you come here for because of his job, and then you're still. When do you decide I'm going to start cooking at home and selling stuff?
So that was in 2019. I opened the business for, just cottage
So
business
how do
out of
you
the
add? You have a
house.
Facebook page,
I
or something?
started an Instagram
And what was it
page.
called?
Small State.
Small state, still small
Yeah, it's
state.
still small state.
And
That was actually how I named the business. As I was thinking, gosh, small state provisions is a nice kind of has a nice ring to it. We are a small state. We're not the smallest, but we're a small state. And then I looked on Instagram, and just the handle small state had not been taken. And I thought, well, this is brilliant. I should
I'm gonna grab it.
snag this. So I snagged it. And now we're just small state on social media. And most people know us just as small state.
So are you? Did you have a fancy kitchen at home, like
Nope. I
just?
mean, we have a nice kitchen, but not
No, no,
anything.
but I mean, like you just like a regular,
Yeah, yeah,
sort of up.
30-inch stove. I was doing all of my bread. When I first started, it was doing, I would do like 6 loaves of bread in a week. And that was
And
what
then
I
you
would
had
do.
people that would follow you and say,
Yeah,
"Oh, they come to your
yeah.
house or Venmo you." And
Yeah, they would Venmo me. I would drive it to them. During the
okay,
pandemic, I actually ended up driving all over. I was baking 5 days a week and driving the bread everywhere. The very first customer of mine is this woman, Hillary Allen, who lives over just in Hartford. And I remember I posted this loaf of bread and I said, I've got a loaf of bread for sale. It's $10. Would anybody want to buy it? And she messaged and said, I would love to buy it. And so even to this day, she's still
she's
a good
still a
customer.
customer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're doing that, and then at some point, what's the threshold where you're like, I can't do this anymore. I need a commissary.
Yeah, so there's actually a built-in threshold of $25,000
Oh
a year.
no, but you can finagle that a little bit.
Yeah, but I'm a little bit. Michael and myself are very much
Yeah,
sticklers
you seem
on
like
this.
sticklers on this. Like you
Yeah,
guys, like he would stop. Like you guys would like stop each other. Like you
yeah,
can't. You're
yeah.
violating it.
No, it's hard. You have to file taxes. You have
No,
to
no,
do
no,
all these
no. But I'm
things.
just saying. But like that's like, like for instance, if you give somebody a free loaf of bread, like
Right, right.
But I'm saying in terms of the threshold of like I can't keep up with the demand. Like I'm in my little our house. We don't have a kitchen anymore,
Yeah.
honey. It's a bakery now.
It all kind of happened organically, and I don't say that with a pun intended. One of my customers when I was baking out of the house was Tate Norden. He's the founder of
Oh, I know
Gastro
that. Yeah,
Park.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so he was getting some of my bread for his food truck. And he said, you should really come check out what I'm doing at Gastro Park. I feel like you would be a good fit for that. And at the time I was like, oh, okay, sure. Maybe I'll come look at it. And I didn't really have a plan for what's next. We did kind of set up a little offshoot of our kitchen with I had a bread table. I had a at-home Rothko bread oven, which allowed me to do 12 loaves at a time. So I had made the home process a little bit more efficient. And then when Tate was showing me Gastro Park, I said, I could probably make this work. It was a 200 square foot space that we still operate out of here in West Hartford. And that was kind of our first space that we built out. I basically built out that space from, concrete floors and plywood walls and took my home equipment that I had over there, and then I started to have to hire a team. The first summer that we opened, it was myself, Michael running register for the most part, and Jonah Gershon, who's a local baker who's at Cornell now. But he joined me for that first summer. It was like the three of us.
So it was literally like, and you're how old then? 32?
Let's see, this would have been 2019, so I would have been
35?
35.
So you're 35 years old, and your husband, who's with a PhD, like he's running the register, and you're just putting sweat equity into the place.
100%.
And at what point do you realize, like, oh my God, this is going to take off. Like, this is going to work. What's that moment? If you were to ask you, like, do you remember it?
So I was working, when I started Small State Provisions, I was working for Bake From Scratch magazine, which is based out of Birmingham, Alabama. And I was part-time, so I did branded partnerships, basically. So I worked with, one of my clients was Bob's Red Mill. So I would create custom content partnerships with Bob's Red Mill, and then those would feed through the kind of advertising ecosystem of the baking magazine. It was one of the best jobs I had. I loved the founders. I loved the guy I worked for. I loved the woman that I worked for. And I was able to do that part-time while also building the bakery. So I had a pretty good income from that. And then I was doing the bakery. And for me, when I realized it was time to go all in, I had kind of reached this point. This would have been 2021, I was the #1 salesperson on the team. I did almost $1 million in sales that year. And I had a team at the bakery that was working for me almost full time. And I was having to step away from the bakery to go take client calls. And I was going home at the end of the day and writing proposals. And I thought, if I've got this team that has said to me, I want this bakery to be my livelihood, then it's time for me to step away and to make this my full-time commitment. And so that happened in 2022 was my first full year.
You said, I'm going to resign from the job.
Yep, I resigned.
And I'm going all in.
I'm going all in. And I haven't looked back.
Wow. So I remember, like, so the one in West Hartford, you obviously have some more space now because you're in Avon as well. But I remember the West Hartford one still, is it still like lines around the block in the morning?
It is. I mean, it ebbs and flows. Yeah. You know, we're trying to figure out what our new thing is in terms of trying to keep people engaged. We don't have, and this is just something that I haven't really put any kind of stock into, is you've been to Gastropark. Yeah. We have no signage on the building. We are completely hidden in that space. And so people find us and they feel like they're finding a little hidden
No, it
gem.
is. It feels like that. Like there's something secretive.
Yeah. And I've got a great team that runs it. You know, with any business that's growing, there's lots of obstacles. And the biggest obstacle for me, as we opened our second location in Avon and we moved all of our production there, is that I'm not at the Gastropark location as much anymore. So I have to trust the team to run it there and to do the job that I would be doing. And we did. We created a community there that loved what we did, but they also loved seeing the team that was there. I was always there for the most part. I had the same people always there.
It's something that I face because I'm in a service, but I don't, my product is me, right? It's a service as opposed to you know, I leave with you with something. With me, you leave with a service. I'm going to advocate on your behalf or whatever it is. But still, I have other lawyers that work with me. And that's always the struggle. Like, well, people want to see me or they want me. And you realize that, no, they want the brand.
Right.
Right. So you have to, like, I could see how that would fit with you, but it's something you seem to be like a person like me. You want to be in there with the people. You want to see them and be like, what are you getting today? How's the family?
We like to get to know everybody.
Well, that's right.
And that's what I think sets us apart is that we get to know people by their first name. I have this like really uncanny ability to be able to remember really small details about people.
I do that.
They'll tell me something and then I'll see them a month later and I'll be like, how is this thing? And they're like, oh my God,
it's so funny. My wife, this weekend, we were, because like sometimes at home, she's like, you don't even remember. Like, I told you we're going somewhere for the kids. It's a funny thing. So we were at the airport. We went to Naples, Florida for vacation. And the last time we were in Naples, there was a guy I met, this retired guy. We were waiting in line for a velo last year. And he was from Minneapolis, and he was retired down there, and he works at the airport part-time. And I spent like an hour talking to the guy in line. He was the coolest guy. It was Dan. So my son remembered that, and because my son knows I talk to everybody. And so I said, we're going to find that guy again. So sure enough, we're about to go through security. I'm like, there he is. So I go over to him. I say, Dan, do you remember we talked for an hour last year? I said, yeah. I said, have you been back to Minneapolis? My wife goes, son of a bitch. How do you remember that? You don't even remember like what happened yesterday. I'm like, I don't know. I just like this one thing.
Yeah.
But it's that connection with somebody.
It is. And that connection is important because some people that come into the bakery, that might be the only connection they have.
That's right.
You know, and you don't know what people have going on outside of what we see with them.
Oh,
at the
but it
bakery.
also too, like, you still have to have a good product, but connecting with the clients is nice because people, you're trying to I'm trying to shepherd somebody through a tough time and get them a result that they want, and you're trying to, you deliver happiness to
Yeah.
people, right? I mean, because look, you can get sustenance from Wonder Bread.
Right.
It's you'll get sustenance. I mean, but for you, somebody's coming to you because they care about what they're putting in their body, but they want something that's good, that has a texture, that has a what do you guys call it? Like a mouth feel, or there's like how it responds toothy.
Yeah.
You want it to be with bread, has to crunch a certain way and has to be airy in the middle.
And it's hard because we're moving more and more to a place in the world where people don't want to interact with each other. We are actually very much strategic in that I don't do online ordering. Like we don't do DoorDash, we don't do online ordering.
Well, plus they cut into your profits so much.
And to me, it's not even about the profits. To me, it is about, I want people to take the time to come in, to have that moment, have the experience at the bakery, and not be faced with, it drives me nuts. You walk into a restaurant or any food establishment, and there's a horde of people just standing there, drivers, with their phones, waiting for these orders. They don't have to talk to anybody. They don't have to make that connection. And we get so many moments in Avon. A couple of weeks ago, we have this husband and wife that come in sometimes with their kids, and they come in regularly. And they walked in, and his mom actually was sitting at one of the tables. They didn't know that.
Oh, his mom just happened to come in.
Yeah, she's a regular as well. And then, oh, hey, how are you? And then they joined tables, and it was like this moment that they didn't plan, but it just happened. And I think those are the types of connections that we're missing. And you don't get that when you just place a mobile order and you walk in and you walk out.
That's interesting. So let's talk about Avon. So Avon's in the last year, right?
Yeah, we opened last July.
Last July, right. So at some point you realize that, look, this thing is growing. This 200 square feet is not enough. I need space. Did you think about just getting a commissary, or what made you get more retail space?
So yeah, it was I think one of those things we realized in the first 3 months of being open at Gastro Park was that we were already out of space.
Wow.
Because I was keeping inventory in my, I have a big storage space in my garage at home. So I was having to shuttle things back and forth because we just didn't have the space at Gastro Park. And my team, we had 6 people in that little space
it's cramped
any
in there.
time.
It's as big as this room, right?
Yeah, it's about as big as this room, which was great for some things because, somebody would walk in and they would be able to, if they had a question, Megan Poulin, who's one of my fantastic bakers that was with me for a long time, she would be able to turn around and say, oh, well, it's X, Y, and Z. And I'm actually, like you could talk to the person. We still have that. We have the ability for somebody to ask a question and say, oh, let me just grab the baker for you. And you can talk to the person that's making it. And when we were thinking about the expansion, I was thinking we would find a space in West Hartford, but I didn't really want to abandon our spot in Gastro Park. And I didn't want to have 2 spots in West Hartford. I didn't really think that was economical or efficient. And then I worked with a realtor who was phenomenal. And Avon became kind of a place that I was like, well, we could serve a new community in Avon.
Yeah, because that mountain is like a different world.
It is. And I live right over in Bishop's Corner.
Oh, so yeah, you go right over.
I'm 12 minutes to Avon and I'm 12 minutes to Gastro Park. So it works perfect for me. And so it was a way that we could have a new community. We could have a bigger space. And then we could also continue to serve West Hartford and not kind of cannibalize our business here. I mean, we do get a lot of people that come to Avon that used to go to West Hartford, but people that live over on the mountainside, they're actually closer to the Avon location.
But the difference there is you have full coffee.
We do.
In West Hartford, there's no beverages.
There's no beverages, but we have the coffee shop.
The coffee shop next door, right?
Yeah.
But I'm saying, but for you, in terms of a revenue stream,
Yeah.
that you now have a full.
We have a full coffee
bar.
And it worked out really wonderful. So we used to have Purgatory Coffee, which was directly next to us. They quickly outgrew their space.
Oh, so they're down the street now.
They're down in the plaza where Hartford Baking Company used to be. And then next door to us, Alvarium Roasting came in.
Oh, yeah.
So I had developed a relationship with Alvarium Roasting when they were first opening.
Is that tied to the brewing company?
It is.
Oh, okay.
It is. So they have a coffee line now.
Okay, one of my clients is there all the time. Pika Food Truck. Do you know those guys?
Yeah.
Javi?
Yeah.
Yeah, he catered lunch for us last week. Oh my God, that guy can cook, man.
Yeah, it's amazing. So Jacob, who's the head roaster there, contacted me about doing pastries for their New Britain location. So they were like our first wholesale account for pastries that we were doing. And then when Purgatory left, I said to Jacob, dude, you guys got to jump in on this. This is like just, we've got a great community.
There's a line of people in the morning.
Exactly. And so now we carry Alvarium roasting in Avon. They're our coffee.
Oh, that's where I was going to ask you who you get your beans from.
Yeah, we do Alvarium, and I love their coffee.
Is your espresso a bitter or a sweet espresso?
We tend to go a little darker, a little bit more bitter than floral. I'm just, I don't know, I drink really black coffee.
Yeah.
And I like it really dark and bitter, and but we get rave reviews on our coffee, and I think it's
so you had to get into the coffee business as well, right? And how did you learn that? Did you bring somebody in, or you just figured it out?
I did. So Jacob at Alvarium was wonderful. He came in, he helped train
buy this,
staff.
Buy this.
Yeah, basically he really helped.
Who's your machine by?
So we have a La Marzocco.
Oh yeah,
we have a Linea three group head machine. It's pink. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't been there yet.
Yeah,
I want to take my son out there and my daughter, because we always see it. So now you have beverages and then pastries, sandwiches.
We do sandwiches. Yeah,
made to order.
Made to order. Some of them are pre-made, so they're grab and go, which we find is really wonderful. It's like when you go to Europe, they're already like just wrapped. And I saw that you do the I forget what they call it in Paris, but the ham sandwich. Yeah, the jambon beurre.
Jambon beurre. Yeah. The with the butter on it.
Yes,
salted butter.
Yeah, we use Vermont Creamery cultured butter. And we use a Parisian ham and Swiss cheese. We don't put the pickles or the mustard on there, which is part of the French side, but they're very polarizing here, and we find that can be a little bit
the pickles,
much.
the little cornichons, that's a delicious sandwich. So, but you could, I mean, is there a menu? You could get like an Italian combo?
We don't have that. We have just like our standard sandwiches that we make. So we do the jambon beurre, we do a tomato chutney and cheddar sandwich, we do a vegan cauliflower banh mi, which is curry roasted cauliflower. In Avon, we have a smoked salmon sandwich, which is on our sourdough bread, and then we do a breakfast sandwich as well.
With eggs?
Yes, with eggs.
How about what do you have for bagels? Do you do bagels?
We don't do bagels. We do sometimes. We do bagel pop-ups.
So do you know who has the best bagels? I'll tell you. There's a place in Waterbury.
Oh, really?
Called Amis.
Okay.
I am telling you, it could be right out of New York City.
Yeah.
Like it could be like Russ and Daughters or H&S. What's that big bagel place? It's as good as that.
Okay.
And it's in Waterbury. It's called Amis, and it is. We used to have somebody that worked with us that lived in Wolcott, so she'd cut through there and she'd bring it in like once a month. And these bagels are just the right crisp on the outside and the fluffy on the inside. I don't know how they do it, but they're bagels are easy to screw up.
Yeah, they are. We have a lot of bad bagels.
And there's a lot of suboptimal, as my medical friends say, suboptimal result.
Yeah.
Like you sort of get it and you're just like, it's like, and there's, to me, there's nothing more disappointing than a bad bagel.
Yeah, it's really awful.
You want like something that's like airy but crunchy. Like you gotta hit that.
Yeah, and we were doing bagels on a very small scale.
Are you a boiled bagel person?
Yes, 100%. But it gets kind of time consuming when you're trying to boil them and get them in.
Well,
the
you need
oven.
a big outfit to do that, right?
We were doing it in just a Le Creuset, like a braising.
Yeah, but that's hard. You gotta keep turning them.
Yeah, they're like 30 seconds, and you can fit 7 bagels in the pot at the same time. And you do that, and you put them on the sheet pan. It's not a terrible process, and it is something that eventually, as we continue to kind of grow what we do, like 100% sourdough bagels are something that we love. We're more known for our pizza.
Sourdough pizza.
Yeah.
There's a place in Philly that I love. Philly is a town that it holds my heart. It's such a great food town. I used to have a practice there. And there's a place called Tacanelli's, and they do a sourdough pizza on bricks. They have like a furnace that heats up the bricks, and they put it on there. And you have to call your order in. And at the end of the night, they run out.
Yeah.
But it's a really good pie.
So we do a Sicilian-style pizza with our sourdough focaccia.
Oh.
And we just did a pizza pop-up in Avon. We've been trying to get back into the routine of doing it every other Wednesday at our Avon location. And we will sell, we sell a lot of whole pizzas, but we sell it by the slice too. So we sell the equivalent of probably 280 slices.
Wow.
But we sell out in about an hour. So
what
it's
about
very
how about a
fast.
Detroit style? You ever thought of that?
Well, ours is kind of a hybrid. I mean,
Uh,
Detroit is very similar
yeah,
to Sicilian.
yeah.
They
The
focus a little
square.
bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
ours are square. They focus a little bit more on getting the
The
crispy
char.
cheese on
Yeah,
the edge.
yeah.
Ours is with our sourdough focaccia base, and then we do a spicy marinara and
And
mozzarella.
and not like these Greek. Like my wife, I'm from New Haven, so I'm
Yeah,
very particular
yeah.
about pizza. My wife's from West Hartford, and she loves these Greek places around. I think Greek pizza is terrible. I think it's like it's so doughy.
Yeah,
And it's like reminds me of that. Remember that Elio's pizza as a kid? Did you ever have Elio's?
I don't remember.
Elio's is the frozen stuff, and it came in a
Mhm.
square, and you just eat. You know, look, it got the job done, but it's like I don't like a doughy pizza.
Yeah.
A pizza to me shouldn't be like it's got to be crisp. It's got to have the right mouth, the toothiness, right?
Yeah.
And like if it's too doughy, like some of that Greek pizza, it's almost like you're eating Wonder Bread.
Right.
And you're
Ours
just
is light and airy because of the focaccia. And then it's a very Utica style thing. And I think Detroit pizza.
The Finger Lakes have that weird pizza, right? Not weird,
we
but
do
it's
cheese first,
right?
And then we do sauce. So normally it's sauce and then cheese. We do cheese,
like deep dish is like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Chicago's like that. They lay the sauce down first.
Yeah.
Although I always say, as a New Havener, I always say that it's a casserole in Chicago.
Yeah,
it's a casserole,
really is.
and it's delicious.
Yeah,
but it's not pizza.
Yeah,
it's like have your casserole, but don't come out of it with a
well, I think we got to
pizza.
get you over to our pizza pop-up.
Oh my god, I'd love to do it. So you have that there, your sandwiches, drinks.
We do all of our pastries. We
all
have
of your pastries.
Croissants now. We've moved into the laminated pastries. With croissant, pain au chocolat, we do a ham and cheese croissant. We do twice baked almond croissants. We're doing a tahini chocolate croissant, which is one of my favorites. We've got our muffins and our banana breads, and we usually do a gluten-free pound cake that we rotate with different seasonal flavors. We do a vegan chocolate chip cookie. We do a ginger cookie. We've got a variety of things.
How about, are you doing any wedding cakes or cakes?
We do some custom cakes.
Right.
We're not a cake bakery,
Right.
so I'm very protective of my team's time.
Right.
And that type of stuff for cakes and those things can be very labor intensive, and you have to do a lot of them if you're only, we have if somebody orders a cake from us, it starts at about $65,
right?
Which is
for a 12-inch cake,
for a 9-inch,
9-inch cake, right?
Cake.
Yeah.
So
if you want it, they're going to pay.
Yeah,
because it's very time consuming.
It is. It's time consuming. We don't do a lot of them, so it's a custom order that we're really.
And they could pick whatever they wanted.
We have like a set of kind of
like
things
carrot
that we
cake
offer. We do a phenomenal carrot cake.
Oh, with nuts or without nuts?
With nuts.
Yeah,
that's actually something Jamie at Bears is trying to get me to do for him. He loves carrot.
Oh, he loves carrot cake. I
loves
know.
Carrot cake.
Yeah, he gets like us from Nora. I think he gets something, but. Oh my god, I love my mother-in-law loves carrot, but she can't have nuts because she has like diverticulosis or something. But there's nothing like a delicious carrot cake. What else?
Don't use raisins in ours.
Don't use raisins.
Gross. No raisins.
No raisins. Just like no raisins in potato salad. Right?
Yeah. No. Gross.
Not allowed. How about just a quick aside? Who you agree that there's no ketchup on a hot dog?
Oh, I don't know. Well, I mean, in Elmira, you used to get like there was this place M&M hot dogs, which they do like the chili sauce.
Oh yeah, like Capital Lunch in there.
Yeah.
But will you still, as an adult, take ketchup on a hot dog?
Yeah, I like ketchup relish and mustard.
All right.
And some onions. But I'm like a kid. When I was a kid, I loved ketchup.
Oh, my daughter puts ketchup on ketchup.
And I remember my mother. Once I must have been probably 7 or 8 years old, and I don't know. I had rice on my plate or something, and I put so much ketchup on the plate. She forced me to eat it. She was like, "Nothing's going to waste in this house. You're gonna eat all that." I mean, I love my mom.
How about a Chicago dog? Have you ever had that?
I think so.
The one that they cut, it's basically like a red hot. It's not too hot, but it has a seeded roll.
Okay.
And then it's called Through the Garden. It comes with a tomato, a hot pepper.
Oh yeah.
The green relish, mustard. It's like a whole thing. You're like, like a salad.
Yeah.
That's a really good hot dog.
I'll have to go.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's hard. There's a place around here that has it. Ryan's Deli will serve it.
Oh yeah, okay, and that's out in
Vernon. They'll have it there. Or if you ever pass the Chicago airport, there's a place.
Okay.
My son and I just went through there, and it was delicious.
Yeah.
So on a, how many people are working for you now? On
so
part
we
of
have
this
a staff of about 20.
Wow.
And that includes our part timers. So we have, I've got 2 phenomenal women that run GastroPark for me. And they're there basically all the days that we're open. In Avon, I've got my core baking team, which is like my production team. I've got an incredible general manager that really helps me kind of run everything. And then our front of house, I've got a full-time front of house manager, and I've got a full-time barista. And then on the weekends, we have high schoolers work with us because I really believe in the power of giving high schoolers soft people skills. And I think as a 15-year-old, I worked at Wegmans, which was
a great grocery store. Yeah, we're getting one here.
Are we?
Norwalk, yeah.
Oh, well, that's a little far. We knew.
Yeah, but I drive for Wegmans.
I'll get excited when we get one here in West Hartford,
I know.
which I think it would do amazing.
Oh, it would put everyone out of business.
It would. So my first job at Wegmans was when I was 15, pushing grocery carts around the parking lot, working at the register. And it really taught me a lot about interacting with people. And so we bring on high schoolers to help us during the weekend.
And 7 days in Avon?
We're open 5 days in both locations, Wednesday through Sunday. And Monday and Tuesday are production days for us. So I've got team members working all week, but we're only open for the 5.
Will you think you'll open more for coffee?
It really depends. Maybe I know a lot of coffee shop owners that I talk to say, you get better traffic if you're open 7 days a week. People like that, but we're also a business that is really time heavy on the products we make. And I'm also really protective of my time and my team's time. And I like to make sure that people get 2 days off in a row and that we're not sacrificing our quality to be open more days.
Who do you like besides your own stuff? Like for baking around here? What do you like?
Around here, I think East Rock Breads down in New Haven is doing some really, really phenomenal stuff.
Is that in that food hall down there?
So he just opened right there on State Street in kind of that little neighborhood.
We're tavern.
Is it East Rock?
East Rock, they call it.
Yeah. So he's almost across the street from Provisions on State.
Oh, that's a great restaurant.
Yeah.
Emily,
so Emily
McGroney.
She has
Fairhaven Oyster.
Co. So I think he's doing some phenomenal breads. I really admire what Atticus Bakery is doing down in New Haven.
Wick?
Yeah, so they're doing...
You ever have his pizza?
I haven't. I haven't.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, so
he was trained at OSA. He was at OSA with those guys for years.
I love OSA.
He makes some very interesting... And he forages mushrooms. You ever see him do that?
Yeah. And I think they're doing some really great stuff. So I look at them as kind of a bakery that I would aspire to be like. I mean, I think we're doing a lot of stuff similar to them. I also love Nana's down in Mystic. I think they're doing phenomenal stuff. All their bread is naturally leavened too. You should definitely go check them out. Nana's. Yeah, they have a Westerly location too now. But their original is in Mystic.
And what do you like for your go-to restaurants? What do you like?
Oh gosh, as somebody that eats out almost every night of the week, we are people of habit. Okay. So we love going to Max Burger.
Oh, it's good.
They actually have great salads at Max Burger.
They do.
We always can get a salad, and we've gotten to know the staff there, and they're all really incredible.
So you like the salad at Max Burger? Okay.
We go to Savoy quite frequently.
Oh yeah, I've been there. They do the nice pie.
Yeah, they do great. Their chicken parm actually is
good.
One of my favorites.
I just made chicken parm the other day. I'll have to show you my cutlets. They're good.
Love chicken parm. I love what Dante's doing over here at Zephyr's Street Pizza.
You ever have his pastrami?
I haven't. I had his turkey sub, which was really, really good.
Yeah, he's good. He's a fun guy.
Yeah, and I think he's got kind of that energy that I think we need in town. Somebody that's trying to push the envelope a little bit.
Trying new things.
I always feel like when we go to his spot here in town that you're in the East Village.
That's right.
It feels East Village-y. It's
And how about for finer dining?
Gosh, I would say Millwright's is my go-to. They're also one of my biggest customers.
You know Kristen?
Yeah.
Oh, she's a goddess. Tyler has been a friend and a client for years, and he he has kids in Chicago, but before he had Violet, and I had kids, we used to travel together.
Oh, fun.
So I went to him and AJ, we went to New Orleans together.
Okay.
And of course he knows all the chefs down there, right?
Yeah.
And they annihilated us.
Yeah.
We just go and eat, and that's a town. Talk about a town to eat in.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. And I know that when he hired Kristen, and she's a very talented baker.
She's a phenomenal pastry chef. And Ashley Flagg, who actually runs that kitchen for him now, is
she's
I
great.
think one of the best chefs we've got in the state.
And her wife is a server there.
Yeah.
Because she's great. I remember when she was in New Haven, and I know she wants to open up her own shop as well. She's trying to put that together.
Yeah, she's a powerhouse. Somebody that I think is a person to watch.
She was at Zephyr's at the hot dog competition.
Yes.
She made a really good dog.
Yeah. And she's been, when I opened at Gastro Park, Tyler, this was even before we first opened the space. We were building it out. And so we had it pretty much done. I was in the phase of like staining the wood and doing like the final touches. And Tyler came through with Tate, and Tate said, well, this is going to be the bakery. And Tyler had not had any of our products, but he said, I want their bread. And so Tyler and Ashley were my first restaurant client. And to this day, we still do all the bread for Millwrights.
Oh, that's great.
And they're really wonderful. I also love the team over at Metro B, which is
I haven't been there in a while. Is that good? Yeah.
Phenomenal. So yeah, we work with a handful of restaurants, but I like to say we work with some of the best in the area.
So let's just wrap up with I want to talk about, so as I mentioned before we got on the air about the importance of relationships, right? I'll call my guy. And so, in my business, building my practice, and I'm sure as you, somebody who came here not knowing anybody, right? Just you and your husband, and now you have this growing business. And you talked a little bit about the relationships you forge or form with people that come in and, over time. How were you? What's your name? Tell me about your family. And what, they take their coffee, they want it extra hot, or they like their bread a certain way, whatever it is. Tell me about how you foster those relationships and the importance of those relationships to your success and your continued growth.
Yeah, so I think it is. It's just people want to be recognized. They want to be seen. They want somebody to listen to them. And, sometimes we get people that come in that have feedback for us, and it's not the greatest feedback, right? Like you're not going to hit every
Can't make everyone
mark,
happy,
right? But even those people, I think, have something to tell us and something that we should listen to. And I think for me, it's just important that people can feel like they've got a place that they can go and they can connect with. And not just me, it's like they're connecting with our entire team. As we grow the business, it's harder for me to always be just front and center. I've got a lot of things to pay attention to. So it's teaching my team and fostering my team to have those relationships with the customers as well. And we just, we get to know people's names. We get to know their families and what they like and what they don't like. And I think for me, as somebody that came here not knowing anybody, I didn't know anywhere. The first place I learned to navigate to was the Walmart on Flatbush, because I would drop Michael off at Trinity. We lived downtown, and then I would go to Walmart, and I would just walk around, and then I would go home. But it's just been kind of immersing ourselves in the community here and building the relationships that allow you to build a business. And it's been a lot of work, but it's one that I find really rewarding.
And if you had one adage or idiom that, you hear all these different people give advice on business and growth, what if there's one that you found that sort of is a North Star for you, what would that be?
I think to just be true, right? To be true to what you want to do and to be focused on that thing and to not get kind of pulled down the different rabbit holes, right? Like cakes are not our specialty. I'm not going to chase that revenue because people might now and then reach out. We are a bread bakery, and that's the engine of our business is bread. And bread is something that for thousands of years has brought people together, and it's sustained people. And so I think that's really what my advice would be, is just find that thing.
And you make a challah bread?
We're working on it.
Oh, yeah, because I'm saying there's a huge Jewish population here.
Yes, we're working on trying to get that so we could have challah for Fridays.
Right, although you don't have the kashrut designation and all that. It's a whole process. You probably couldn't do that. But if people just like, even non-Jews like challah bread, it's delicious bread.
And because we're organic, almost all of the products we use are kosher, even down to our parchment papers.
No, right, but you have ham in there, so it wouldn't work.
We have other non-kosher things. Right. But challah is something that is on our radar, sourdough challah.
And hopefully bagels too.
Yes. And we got to eat our babka. We do chocolate.
Oh, babka, that's great. All right, well, listen, Kevin, thank you. I know you're very busy for giving me an hour of your time and learning about you. I'm a big fan, both of your product and you as a person.
Thank you.
You're a nice guy. I love your energy. And I've met your husband before. We had dinner at an event, and lovely people, and folks, you should go check them out. And we cater our Halloween stroll every year with your cookies. We're going to continue it this year, and every year it seems to be more and more.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that again next year, and I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.